Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Hollywood Critics Association Moon Knight After Show. What a mouthful. My name is Tessa Smith. You guys can find me everywhere at Mama's Geeky, mamasgeeky.com, Mama's Geeky on all social media. I am joined by my two lovely co-hosts. We are going to dive into Moon Knight episode 3. Full warning, there will be spoilers, so if you haven't watched it yet, come back later. Don't forget, though, don't forget about us. I promise you, we're worth it. We're fun. And we all just want to hug Steven. That's all we want to do. But before,
Steven Hug Show, yes.
It's a Steven Hug Show.
It is. That's what we should call it. The Steven Hug Show. But before we dive into this episode, Andrea, why don't you let everyone know where they can find you?
Hi, I'm Andrea. You can find me writing Entertainment Weekly. You can also find me at times writing on IGN. And you can find my thoughts on Twitter at A-Towers.
That seemed like it was on purpose.
It was meant to be a lot more smooth than it was. Like, yeah, I got it. Third time doing this.
Yes. All right,
the running gag here, folks.
Now it's on you, Michael. Can you do it? Let's see.
I think I can do it, but you can find me at I am Michael J. Lee at all socials. So yeah.
And where do you write?
I also write for Geeks of Doom, That's It LA, We Live Entertainment, and The Nerd's Color.
Awesome. All right, guys, we're going to dive into episode 3. I really enjoy what this episode does because it hints at something which we're going to get to way later. But let's start off with the beginning. We get to learn a little more about Layla, and I really enjoyed the way they did this. Her getting that passport because she's going to get to Egypt also. But, you know, she's having that conversation and you get to learn a little bit more about her dad. And I felt like, again, like we talked about last week, Marvel does a really good job at including the background stuff in the writing where it feels natural and they're not like forcing character development and world building down your throat. Andrea, how did you feel about this scene with Layla?
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty much what was going through my mind the first time I watched it. And also, I mean, we've talked about, I love Layla. I'm so glad that we were getting more about her character. And, this is a very fast moving show with a lot of pieces and there's a lot of mythology there. And so at one point I'm thinking, like, how are they going to keep dropping on? Like, we have to know something about her past. We can't just know that she was married to Mark. How did she get into this mess and how, what was her family? Does she have any family? And so I really liked how they kind of opened the episode with that. And like you said, a very seamless way of showing her past, getting us, a little bit of information about her, but also not feeling like it was like overly heavy handed. It was just like kind of it was a good lead in to the episode. And I really liked learning more about her. And it was like, we're starting the episode with Layla content. That makes me happy.
Yeah, I was very happy to see that. And I was happy we got it because it's been nice, like, seeing her. But like you said, you don't want to just know she was Mark's wife. Like, you need to know a little bit more about her and her background and why she's so important to this show, because she really is one of the main characters.
And why she's a badass.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Michael, how did you feel about this scene with Layla?
I felt that this made her one of the more reliable storytellers because we see from Mark and Steven, it's confusing, like, who's who and can we really trust what we see? And through Layla's perspective, we can actually see one constant reality, I guess. And we can see her be nurturing and kind, and then we can see her be fearless and strong and another moment. So it feels like she's the only one we can trust. And now that we get more depth to her character with this backstory as she's getting her passport.
Yeah, I was excited to see that. And of course I figured, she's following him to Egypt, but I was happy to see it. And it was interesting where she's like, I'm going back there. And, oh, you burned a lot of bridges there. So, like, stuff's going to be happening for her there too. But then cut to Egypt and we've got Harrow. And they're obviously his team, his cult followers, so to speak. They're out there looking for Ahmed's tomb. They have the scarab. They find it. They're the first ones to find it. I kind of figured this is the way it was going to go, but I was still a little sad to see it happen. I was like, oh, I really want Steven, although we know it's Mark. Right now he's Mark, but I still wanted him to get there first. Andrea, how did you feel? Did you expect Harrow and his team to find it first?
Yeah, but also I know we were talking about how it's Mark and not Steven, but I wanted Steven, like, inside to have that little moment of, like, my God, like this is because he would completely geek out over it. And I just wanted him to have that moment for himself. But yeah, I mean, I figured once, the episode started to get going and I realized kind of where we were going with it. I realized it did make sense. But I kind of wish they had, Mark Steven found it first, but it worked out, and in the context of what is to come for the rest of the episode, which we'll get into.
Yeah, Michael, how did you feel when Harrow and his team were like, "Hey, we found it"?
It kind of made me reminded me of the earlier Aladdin movies. Like, oh, I'm using this beetle to find this tomb that I'm looking for all this treasure, and it's like, okay, that's cool, But like Andrea was saying, it all fits into the context of what will happen later on. That Stephen was eventually going to be able to track down Harrow in later episodes or the later scenes. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, so then of course we're talking about Mark/Steven, technically Mark right now, trying to find this tomb, and who's he gonna talk to and beat up basically in order to find out. And I love that, he's pushed Steven so far down and like, Steven, you're not coming back out, but Steven is able to come out a little bit. I really enjoyed when he's like holding the knife and Steven's like, this isn't us. Like, Mark, don't do it, because he's such a good guy and he doesn't want to hurt people. And then he tries to like talk his way out of things, which I just adore about Steven. It makes me so happy how nonviolent he tries to be. But they've got these three like thugs, whatever, that they're trying to get to tell him, how can I find Amit's tomb? What's going on? And one of my favorite things, besides them switching back and forth so much, is that, Steven lets them go. He tries to get to the airport. and then Mark takes over. Where are we going? Why are we on the way to the airport? Which I think is great Marvel humor, just thrown in there as well. But when you finally get to the point where Mark and Steven are talking again, and these guys are like knocked out and done, and he's like, what have you done? Both of them say, it wasn't me. Now in the comics, there is a third persona. Jake Lockley is his name. So I'm like, is this third persona? Like, I kind of believe both Mark and Steven. I feel like one of them would admit it. So I really enjoyed that whole way that played out. And Andrea, how did you feel about just, switching back and forth, Steven being a nice guy, trying to just let him go and get to the airport and leave?
So I thought, as we've talked about, there are these moments throughout the show that are just such great moments of how good Oscar Isaac is and how different Steven and Mark are, but also how well they work together and how each one, really does need each other in order to figure things out or figure out how to, solve a problem or just have like a different insight into something. Like, don't kill. Like, Mark is like, I just need to kill something. This is what Mark wants to do. He wants to kill people all the time. And I was laughing when like Steven's trying so hard. Probably wrong to laugh, but like Steven's trying so hard to talk him down as if, and I'm just literally sitting there thinking, you really think he's going to listen to you? Like, come on, you know him. But I will say, so as someone who's not familiar with the comics, I was not aware of the third persona. So I'll like admit that straight out. But now that you're saying it, I agree with you that one of them, at least Mark, like I feel like Mark's the type of person who would definitely say if he had done something. Like maybe Steven would be like, I don't want to say anything, but like Mark probably would. So now I'm going to be thinking about that because that's a good theory.
It's Marvel likes to lay breadcrumbs.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not, I'm not ruling anything out. We're only in episode 3.
Right, I know. Michael, how did you feel about the whole back and forth there? And then do you think this could be Jake just came out and,
Yeah. So it goes to my belief that the two are really unreliable storytellers. We can't really trust what's going on because neither of them even know what's going on. They can't even trust each other. So it's like, oh my gosh, Layla's the only one I can actually believe in. But to your point about Jake, I think that makes a lot of sense. I know there in the comics there are at least 6, from what I remember, at least 6 personas. But adding a third would be a nice twist because we've been so we've been following two for so long, or three with Conchu, but the two, at least with Mark and Steven, for so long, it makes sense if you want to add a third, just for that nice twist in the show.
Yeah, I'm sure Marvel, they're at least hinting at it. We know how they love to do stuff like that. They also like to make us theorize and be wrong, like Mephisto.
Like
right?
Mephisto. Literally the only thing I'm going to think of for the rest of time is
could
Mephisto.
Be Mephisto. Let's just say that right there.
Like WandaVision ruined me.
It's Mephisto. We're saying it here, folks. It's Mephisto.
Yeah, it's Mephisto. You heard it here first. Mephisto is one of the personalities. No, that would be funny though. Just everything's Mephisto. But then another thing that I really enjoyed about this episode that comes after this is, Conchu and Mark have like a conversation, which I thought was really cool. And they're sitting there and they're like discussing and talking, like, what's going to happen? What are they going to do? And Conchu's like, all right, listen, we need to get the attention of the gods. Like, I'm going to get their attention. And he messes with the sky. And then they call that like council of the avatars, which I thought was really, really fun. And I just, again, like Oscar Isaac is so good. He's just so good. I love him in that actual scene when Conchu was like talking through it. It's crazy to me. I loved it. But how did you feel about just bringing Conchu more to the surface and having him actually have like a conversation with Mark? Andrea, how did you feel?
I love that because before now we haven't really seen much of, I mean, we've seen him and we've seen him kind of interact, but we've never had what we got here, which was like a kind of a sit down, like real, back and forth conversation. And it was good to see Mark like that too, because we really haven't seen, like, we've seen Mark obviously have conversations, but like they're in like a very specific way. Like he's either fighting about something or he's being defensive about something or so. So I really like that both of them kind of got to sit down and have this like kind of more serious conversation that I feel kind of opened up like both of their characters. Plus it was just fun to see Conchu like actually do more than just stand there and be like menacing or like chase someone.
Yeah. More than being terrifying.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, you kind of have a purpose here.
Right. Exactly. He has his reasons, he doesn't trust Amit and he doesn't want her to get out and we're cool with it. And he knows he's gonna, bring the other gods in and hopefully convince them, which we see he doesn't do. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Michael, how did you feel about this conversation between Conchu and Mark and then calling the Council of the Gods avatars, so to speak?
So I thought that was a pretty cool way to expand on the mythology, and we get to see a little bit of how these gods work within the realm of the MCU, because there's so much going on within the MCU itself. So I thought it was nice to see that conversation go on, and it also gets into the heart of their relationship, that internal relationship, that there's more to Conchu using Steven and Mark as a vessel of sorts.
Yeah. And then I did really like how during the council meeting, I mean, Conchu was like speaking through Mark / Steven. And again, like I said, that's another layer to Oscar's performance here. The way his voice changes and he like goes like this, like he's being channeled through him, I thought was incredible. Absolutely loved that. But he's, like, hey, this is what Harrow's doing. He's trying to set Amit free, who you guys imprisoned. Like, you got to help me here. We got to do something about this. And they summon Harrow, which I thought was interesting to bring Harrow in because he's technically not an avatar to anybody right now, right? He wants to be for Amit, but he's not for anybody. And he just flat out says, like, this guy's got a mental illness. Like, this guy is not well. Conchu's taking advantage of this poor guy, which makes me, again, like, Steven. I just want to hug him. This poor Steven. But I really like that he called him out. And he even says, like, are you well? And he's like, no, but that's not the point. So I thought it speaks to him, I think, starting to realize his mental state, right? He's really starting to figure it out. Andrea, how did you feel about this whole council meeting?
I just love that they actually called out the fact that, are you well? Are you okay? Like, are you like, this guy is not like clearly like, not okay. And I know there's been a lot of talk with this series about how the the series is really going to address, like, mental illness and, and what, and like the dissociative disorder and all of that. And like, I know we got like a little bit of trauma stuff in WandaVision, but like, we've never really had like, Marvel dealing with like mental illness in a way. And so I like that they called that out. And it was, even though it was kind of subtle, it was like, it kind of drove home the fact that like, you get caught up in all the mythology and like all this whole council meeting and everything that's happening and like all the chaoticness of it. But at its heart, it's really a struggle with, these two guys and Oscar Isaac just trying to, figure out what's happening to him. And, and if he's normal and sane and, he's going through all this. And it was, I just thought it was a really kind of nice moment in between, like Marvel's just really good at interjecting these moments in between the big action, big storytelling that kind of drive the story home in small ways or subtle ways. And I think that was one of them for me.
Yeah, definitely. Marvel's always been really, really good at that. Especially with these shows where they have more time to like flesh it out versus, a movie where they're trying to get their whole thing going. They only have 2 hours to do
5 seconds.
Right, exactly. Michael, how did you feel about this whole scene inside the pyramid where they're having their council meeting?
I thought it was really interesting because we get to see how manipulative or how, convincing Harrow can be by saying this guy, Khonshu's had a history with, not being able to be trustworthy, or he's been able, or that he's very, he's been bending the rules, so to speak. And then for Mark and Steven, it's like Mark has has a marriage certificate, and then, but Steven is this person. So he has a way of being a very good lawyer, I guess, because he can convince the council to believe in him and say, you know what, I'm innocent. I don't know why you're believing in this guy that has multiple personalities, and with Khonshu being this crazy god that you banished. So there's that history between he uses to his advantage, and I like how the gods also act as this, kind of standoffish, observant sort of thing, like Eternal's approach to judging and what course they should take. So
yeah, I thought it was really good how it shows, again, I think we've said that how Harrow is like manipulative and very subtly like able to do stuff like that, and he's just convinces these gods, like they're like, okay, but then the one kind of pulls him aside and says like, okay, like listen, this is what you can do, there's another way,
right?
There's a map out there. There was someone who was in charge of hiding where it was, just in case the gods decided to show mercy on her. So like, go find this sarcophagus basically, and you'll hopefully be able to find your way to Amit's tomb. And I really enjoyed that scene, where the only thing is I was a little annoyed at Mark here because even Layla's like, we could use Steven here in this like moment where we're trying to negotiate over this Egyptian mythology stuff, like that nothing about, Mark. And he's like, no, I'm not letting him out. And I was like, Mark, this isn't going to end well for you, Mark. Like, why would he not do that? It just shows how selfish Mark can be at times. And then we do get, it's like, I think it's the final performance of that actor, because I know he passed away before this.
Yeah.
I think it was like in January, maybe. So, that's Anton. Who's played by, I'm probably going to butcher his name. I don't even want to say it, but it's Gaspard, but I don't know. Is it Layla?
Gillespie. I'm not looking at it right now.
I know.
I'm trying to do it from memory.
I know. I do apologize, guys. But he it's his final performance as this guy, Anton, which I found interesting. Let's talk about them just getting there and trying to find the map. But I have some thoughts I want to talk about if maybe they edited his performance after he passed away. But Andrea, go ahead. What did you think about them kind of getting here? And Mark not letting Steven out when he should have.
I know. And I was doing the same thing. Like, Mark, stop being so selfish. And I know he's trying. And in my head, I'm like, I know you're trying to do it because like you think you can push Steven to say you think you don't need Steven. Like, because why do you need this guy that's not even going to be helpful anyway? You know what to do. You know all the backstory. You have a mission, you have a directive. But I wanted to be like, dude, like Steven knows this stuff. This is the stuff that he has literally spent his life like earning, like let him do his thing. But again, we keep talking about Oscar Isaac's performance, but the shift between Mark being kind of very firm about I'm not letting you out, I'm not like ignoring him, and Steven kind of pleading like I can do this, please, like let me help, like I know this stuff was just really really great. And I have some thoughts about Anton too, but we will get to that, and
we will get to that in a moment. Michael, how did you feel just kind of about this Mark deciding not to let Steven out when it feels like very clearly this is Steven's wheelhouse?
I think it made sense because we've been spending so much time with Steven with Layla. So now that Mark's fully in control, we can see how the history of their relationship and the state of their relationship now, especially when Layla is speaking out to Mark, extending like, you know what, I could have helped you if you told me about it. And then Mark, he explains his history with, I know I, haven't been as open or forthright with who I am. And I always left. And he even says, I'm sorry, I just left for Cairo without telling you. So I thought that it was a nice intimate moment between the two, just to see more of what the history of their relationship and the state of their relationship now.
Yeah. Again, Marvel, very good at giving you those little moments throughout that means so much more than just the 2 minutes that we see them. But then we have, under pressure, Mark's trying to talk to Steven in the reflection on the sarcophagus, trying to explain to him that this is a map, like this thing needs to be unlocked, and then we'll find the map inside, and they're able to get it last second. And of course, Harrow shows up with his people, and there's a whole big fight, and Moon Knight comes out. One of my favorite shots in the entire 4 episodes we've seen so far is when he jumps in his cape. It's in the trailers too, I think. His cape kind of goes into that moon shape. I was like, that is cool. I'm so glad they did that. But at the very beginning of the fight, Anton is like rushed off by his security, right? But then he shows up at the end to be killed by a thing in his back that you barely see. I almost wonder if he was supposed to come back later and they kind of changed it just because he had passed away and they had enough time to edit. Perhaps not. Maybe he was supposed to be there just in one episode. But it had been kind of talked about that he was kind of talked about as more of like a reoccurring character versus a cameo type character. Andrea, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, that was my first thought too. And I hate that the first thought in my mind when something like that happens is like, I wonder like what they did or if they edited it, because you're right. Like that could have been like his one performance. But I think, and I would have to go back and look at, the castings and stuff, because I don't remember stuff from I don't remember stuff from yesterday, so I don't remember stuff from like months ago, but I do believe he was supposed to be more of like a recurring kind of guest character, like at least maybe come back like once or twice. So it did strike me as odd when he left and then all of a sudden he came back and he was killed, and I almost wonder if they did that because you're right, they did have a lot of time to edit it, and if they kind of did it as like a kind of finality thing, because they couldn't obviously film more scenes. So like, how do you, kind of give the character some sort of send off that doesn't, if there wasn't another scene filmed. But then again, maybe there wasn't another scene filmed, like, and that's why there wasn't anything else they could use. So, but it made me sad because it's the first thing I thought of when I saw him on screen, and it was like, oh, I wonder how many episodes we're going to see him in after, because I didn't know how much he completed before stuff happened, and now it makes me sad we're not going to see more of him.
I know, he was great. He was really good.
Really good.
And like, we had that footage of him when he's like training and he's like on the horse already, so I almost wonder if they used some of that and just like CGI the thing hitting him in the back. But also it could have been someone else, because it's just, you just see him from the back when he dies. So Michael, what do you think? Do you think they edited stuff? Did it seem weird to you?
No, I didn't think it seemed weird when I was watching it, and we've watched this episode. I've watched the episode a couple of times, but I didn't think it was edited weird. It made sense the way they had Moonlight hit him in the back, and you don't see his face, so that's like, okay, you know, that could have been the moment where they used some sort of, or they added extra footage, or they edited in that certain way, so because they didn't have him at the time, sadly. But yeah, I think his performance in this was really good. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, no, I just felt it weird, like because they rushed him off.
Yeah.
And then for him to come back felt out of character for this character.
Okay.
Like he seemed very much like a character that is like, okay, I'm gonna go be like, because he's like this rich dude who has money to do whatever he wants.
Like it seemed like he had more of a. They had made more of a story for him. You know, that would unfold down the line.
I wouldn't see him coming back trying to like turn the tides of the fight here against Moon Knight. Like personally, I don't know many people who would be like, hey, I was going to fight the superhero, you know, with my robe on. Like he doesn't even have armor or anything on.
He's that confident though. I was going to.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe it speaks to his confidence.
He's trained with the best, apparently.
Yep.
So,
yeah. Oh man. But yeah. So that was a little. It's sad. It's sad to me if we missed out on more, because I thought his performance was really, really good. But I did enjoy that fight. I thought, let's just talk about that fight real quick, because I thought that was one of the better action scenes that we've seen so far in the series. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I loved seeing Moon Knight, and I loved when Steven comes out and he's like, hold on, guys, hold on, let's talk. Again, he tries, and they're just like, and then he gets like hit with all those things, and he's like, come back, Mark, come back. Again, it's such, they throw that humor in there, but I really liked it because it's just funny. Steven thinks he's gonna be able to stop this like massive fight that's going on, and they still just start killing him, basically. Andrea, how did you feel about this action sequence?
I love that, just because, and also, like you said, that's so Marvel. It's like, okay, like we're gonna do this, just let me do this. Like, okay, wait, I give up. Okay, Mark, hi, where did I go? I need you. Please help me not die. Like, it felt like it was just like that Marvel humor is just, it's the way they threw that in there is so great. I mean, I love this action sequence. It rivaled like that first action sequence in the bathroom. When we first see the suit and he's has the jackal after him, that kind of like fun intensity. It was just fun to, and my favorite thing about these fight sequences is to see like Steven and Mark go at it, because like if it was just Mark kind of beating the crap out of these guys, like it would kind of be a boring fight, I think, even like with everything else going on, because Mark is just like,
right?
Yeah, like Mark's just like, whatever, I'm gonna kill people, I'm a mercenary. But like when you have Steven there, like, and you have him constantly like, yelling at him or like trying to like reason with him, or there's like two sides there, it makes it so much more interesting.
Yeah, Michael, how did you feel about the action sequence? And you're right, Andrea, too. I think that it adds something fresh, right? It's not just another fight like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like anything in Marvel, right? So, Michael, do you like that kind of refreshing twist that they've put on this?
Yeah, I like this duality where they can flip between two different characters with two different suits and everything. And I can't imagine what the editing process is like for that. But but to see, it's like you got to go here and you got to go back to this. But just to see that internal conflict, like Steven, like, I'm confident, I can take these guys on. It's like, wait, I'm wrong. I can't do this. No. Let's go back. Let's the guy who can do this actually fight. But it's a lot of fun to see how they flip back and forth, and just to see how motivated actually Mark is to protect Layla, because then you see in that moment that he genuinely cares for her. He's like, you know what, I am going to go all out. I'm going to take these sticks off. I'm going to break it or whatever, and then That's job basically. Yeah.
Well, speaking of Layla too, we do get to see her get in on some action as well, which I like. Again, yes, she's like, buy me some time, and he like protects her, and he's like, all right, go. And she's here trying to get the map out of what is left of the sarcophagus after Harrow like destroyed it, trying to prove that he's powerful to Anton. Which again makes me think Anton was supposed to come back and have an interaction with Harrow later on down the road. Unfortunately, obviously, I can't imagine they're gonna get back. I'm pretty sure he's dead. How they ended it, or at least very injured. So maybe we will see him. But I liked seeing Layla fight too. Like she got in there and she's trying to get this map and get it done. But the other guy comes in, the security guard, and they go toe to toe quite a bit. And Andrea, did you like seeing her kind of?
I loved it. It's that goes back to that whole like, she's clearly not here to sit around and, just be Mark's wife or a damsel in distress. Like because she has her own baggage. She has her own, even like she says like this, like episode 2, I think it was episode 2. Because that's the first time we see her when she like finds a scarab and she's like, remember, like this is something we did together. Like this is both of us. Like, so rather than just letting him like kind of take everything, or deal with everything, she's very much, getting into it and defending herself and helping to defend him. And it makes me, anytime female character gets to kick ass in the MCU, it makes me happy.
I'm with you right there. Michael, how did you feel about getting to see Layla get some action while she's sitting there trying to get the map?
I wouldn't want to mess with her. Let's just say that, because she's very capable. She can use guns. Yeah. She can pull these blades off her shoulders, sort of thing that she was wearing. That's a very nice accessory, by the way, I would have to say. But she's very capable, and as Andrew was saying, she has this whole history as well. There's more to her, and she has her connections. She knows she has her baggage, this reputation in Egypt, but she also knows how to get to Egypt on like in the underworld sort of thing by making these fake passports. So it's nice to see all these layers to her finally on screen, because so much of it's been spoken and in the dialogue. So now we get to actually see that there's more to her, and there is. It's not all talk, basically.
Yeah, I know. That is a cool necklace. I'm like, I want one of those things. That was awesome. That was so cool. It's a great weapon. I know. Yeah. That's a good cosplay for you, Andrea.
I know.
That's a good one.
I'm like, I can't wait when I go to Dragon Con. There's going to be so many. I hope I see like 10 million Laylas there.
I bet there'll definitely be a few for sure, which I love. And that's why I love when they introduce new characters into the MCU. You get a refreshing at the cons of new cosplay.
You get like, like how many, it's like Loki, like after Loki, like every single person I knew was Sylvie, which was great.
That's so awesome. I love it. So then we've got this map, right? They have this thing and they're trying to figure out how to do it. And Steven comes out and he folds it into this thing and he's like, oh, awesome. It's a map, but oh no, it's from the night they, entombed Amit, which was like way long ago. And unless, and the night sky changes over time. So there's no way we'll be able to figure this out. And Khonshu's all comes out, which I loved how helpful Khonshu was here. How he's like, all right, I remember that night. I got it. We can figure this out, but I'm going to get in trouble. Because the gods literally just warned him, you mess with the sky again or do anything like this again, we're entombing you in the statue like we did Amit, right? Literally just told him that in this episode. And he's like, oh, okay, I'm going to have to mess with the night sky and in order to read this map. But this scene was so well done. And I thought it was so cool because we get Steven in the Mr. Knight costume. And he's like, okay, do the same thing as I do, and I don't know what he's doing. He looks almost like a Doctor Strange, like
waving hand,
right? Turning the sky back. But I thought the visuals in that scene were amazing, especially since at the very same time as they're turning the sky back and trying to figure it all out to read the map, Khonshu's like being entombed by the gods, so he's like being pulled away, and the statue is building. I thought that was a great ending. I thought it was a wonderful way to do it, and the visuals were really cool. Andrea, how did you feel about them kind of ending on, again, another cliffhanger?
I love a cliffhanger, but I loved it. It was the visuals, like you were saying, the visuals were so cool, and it just felt like it made you feel like the entire episode had been building up to like this moment. And I also love how Steven I was like, you finally get your chance to shine. Like you finally get your moment, and he's in the suit and he's, doing all the stuff with the sky. But it's one of those, it was also one of those scenes where I was like, this just feels like, it kind of drove home, like this feels so different than what this show is doing, and the action sequences they're doing, and the cliffhangers that they're doing is so different than anything we've had so far. And also, I mean, when Tommy gets entombed, that's a whole other layer. But I love how they worked that in to everything that was going on. It was a really, I thought it was a really clever way to end the episode.
Yeah, I thought it was so cool. Michael, how did you feel about them, the way they ended this episode?
I thought it was a really great way to end the episode, especially when you get to see Mark admit, okay, this is Steven's job, but clearly this is out of my wheelhouse. Where he breaks
finally,
finally, right?
Finally.
So he breaks the rear, I think one of the mirrors, and then he says, like, you know what, come out, this is your chance, do your stuff, and to see that whole sequence of reversing time, and just it was really quite refreshing, because we've never seen like anything like this in any Marvel show or film, and I had all these notes actually, but yeah, that's pretty much what I had to say about it. So yeah, it's really nice to see how Marvel is just doing something really refreshing and really new. Oh, I was going to say about the gods. So yeah. It basically, he was going to say, earlier he said, I'm going to do something. If you signal it like this, it's going to risk the wrath of the gods. And well, like you were saying about how he's getting entombed in stone, that's really a big signal, I guess. Yeah. So.
I know, and one thing I like that I like/hate that he said to Steven, tell Mark to free me, because I was like, that's cool. He knows he's going to need to be freed, but also like, why can't Steven be the one to free you? Got you. Poor Steven. I don't know. Andrea, how did you feel about that?
I was just like, why can't Steven just be freed? This poor man. Steven needs a hug. Steven needs to have his moment. If this show does not end with like a 360 of Oscar Isaac being like, I am like happy with my life and I am like finally like settled, and maybe he ends up with Layla. Who knows? I have not seen anything. I'm literally just theorizing. It would make me happy.
I know, you just feel bad. Again, he needs a hug. I'm like, he's right there. You're talking to Steven, and you're like,
yeah, like give him some credit. This is what he's been doing his whole life. He's been like,
I know. Oh, Michael, how did you feel about that line? Were you sad for Steven?
I mean, what more could I add? The guy has his Egyptology. He knows this stuff, and then he's actually, doing all the magic, manipulating the sky, turning back time, and then you ask for Mark to free you. It's like, what? So what am I to you? So it was completely like demeaning, in a Marvel kind of fun like way. But it was just like, yeah, I want to give Steven a hug.
I know. Yeah. Again, we're the free hugs for Steven Club.
I'm here for you, Steven. I know what you can do.
I just gotta feel so bad for him. But overall, I mean, fantastic episode. It's action, it's story driven. You're learning a whole lot more. We get that hint at possibly a third personality in here. You've got more gods coming out. Khonshu's entombed at the end. Like, what is happening? Another great cliffhanger, which Marvel loves to do. But Andrea, do you have a favorite moment of the episode?
I just really love the scene between Mark and Khonshu when they're talking, and we got really that moment of them connecting on that level. I think just because you finally see Kantu, as which you do in this episode, is more than just, like I was saying before, like
terrifying,
a terrifying floating, head thing that just kind of shows up. So I just like that. I just thought it was a really good part of the episode, and also it just helped the story so much.
Yeah. Michael, how about you?
It's like more of an amalgamation of moments, because we get this whole spy thriller thing when Mark is trying to find Harrow by hunting down his followers, everything the extent he's willing to go to. But then you got this treasure hunting aspect that's fun to it, so that it adds that Indiana Jones like flair to it. So yeah, those are the kind of moments, like 2 moments that I liked in the review of this episode.
Yeah, there's a lot of great moments in this episode. I think for me, my favorite is going to be that action scene, because like I said, we get that moment that when I saw it in the trailer, I loved it, where he jumps and it kind of pauses and you see his cape go into that moon shape. I loved that. And I thought the whole action scene was great, because I like how they had Moon Knight fighting, Stephen, of course, coming out and then being like, forget it, go away, which I like that humor. And then at the same time, we've got Layla kicking some butt as she's trying to get her job done. So I really liked overall that whole moment. If you were to rank this with the other episodes, it's getting hard because they do all bring something to the table. But Andrea, where do you think this fits?
I don't know. Right now, I might rank this episode first, only because I would rank this. I would kind of rank them in back order right now, with this one and number 2 and number 1, only because between all the action we got and just the storytelling advancement and the scenes and that cool visual at the end. I think right now this would be one of my favorite episodes, but we still have 3 to go. So
and episode 4 is
I'm curious.
Episode's right around the corner.
I know. Michael, how do you feel?
I would have to agree with Andrea. This is sort of the thing where, the next episode is going to be, the best thing ever, because that's how it feels. It's just this natural progression where one gets better than the other, and it seems like kind of unfair, but so far they're all directed by, at least the 4 are directed by the same director and in writing. So it just feels like it's a natural fit. Like it gets better as you go on, sort of thing. So
I definitely agree. It is one of those. I can't wait for you guys to see episode 4 next week. We are gonna have so much fun.
It's gonna be good.
We're just gonna go like this the whole time.
It's just,
that was literally.
There's no way to explain it other than that.
Yeah. So. I said episode 4 will blow your mind. That's what I said on Twitter, and I think that's quite accurate. So join us next week when we talk about it, and we just sit here like this for 10 minutes going, I don't know what happened, but we're excited to talk about it. We'll tell you literally what happened, but I've got any theory, who knows? Listen, it's Mephisto all over again. But no, for real, we are so excited to talk about it next week. This is since the moment I watched it, I went, I can't wait for the after show on this one. This is going to be a blast. But thank you guys for joining us. Let us know your thoughts on this episode, your favorite moments, where you think it ranks with the others down below in the comments. Maybe any theories that you think might happen in episode 4, since everybody's talking about how bonkers it is. And that is when the script gets flipped, you guys.
Yep.
That's all I'll say. But before we go, Andrea, why don't you let everyone know where they can find you again?
You can find me writing at Entertainment Weekly. You can also find me writing at IGN, and you can find me on Twitter at A-Towers.
Hey, that was good. I like that. That was awesome.
Gonna get it.
The pressure's on now.
I know.
That was fantastic.
A little authorized dance.
Now the pressure's on you, Michael. Where can everyone find you?
Okay, pressure's on. So you can find me at I am Michael. Michael J. Lee right there. Yes. So I am Michael J. Lee at all my socials, and I write for That's It LA, We Live Entertainment, and the Nerds of Color.
And you guys can find me at mamasgeeky.com. I do also write for what's on disneyplus.com, which I have an article up about the Moon Knight press conference. And I also write for Wealth of Geeks. You guys can also find me on all social media at mamasgeeky. Easy peasy. It's all right there. I got it.
Yeah.
Here on YouTube as well. This was a blast, guys. And it just Can't wait for next week. Come back next week. We've got so much to tell you.